On this segment of Sports with Perk, we're going fast, rapid fire. Ira Winderman, Miami Heat
me
writer.
talk fast? I haven't heard that one before.
Right.
Okay.
Exactly. So, Ira, I'm just going to throw you names. You give me comments on them. We start with Hassan Whiteside. What's his future here?
I think the Heat bring him back. Chris, when you get someone this special, you can't let him go. You try to get him at your price, you probably wind up getting him at his price.
Yep. Pat Riley said he thinks he's a, 16, and 4 guy, 16 points, 16 rebounds, 4 blocks. Is that realistic?
Yeah, those numbers are good. It's the $22 million. Pat would like him to be an $18 million. That's what July is going to be about.
Free agency, we'll delve into that a little bit. Kevin Durant, what are the chances that Pat Riley can convince him to come here? Does Dwayne Wade get involved, and does he have that type of relationship
I think there's only one way KD comes, and simply if he wakes up one morning and says, my God, I live in Oklahoma City.
That's right.
If he wants to come to Miami, that's about the only draw that's left. And Chris, don't downplay that, because we're talking the winter months, we're talking 6 or 7 months. At the end of the day, all that stuff we're talking about, playing styles, teammates and all of that, maybe KD just wants to live in Miami. He already had a place down here.
Yeah, all right. A couple of other potential free agents, Nick Batum, Harrison Barnes, Batum of Charlotte, Harrison Barnes of Golden State. Do they fit the Heat style? Is there any chance of them getting those guys or players of that caliber?
Chris, I think if they're going to go to the second tier of free agency, I think they wait for a year, see what happens to Chris Bosh, and then say, do we have a future with Chris Bosh or without him? So I think they go for the whale that Pat Riley mentioned, so to speak. Otherwise, I think they pull back and they look to their own. They look to guys they already know the system, try to go short-term deals with those guys, buy time until 2017.
Chris Bosh, you mentioned him. He's on the books, $23 million until February. My question to you, Ira, if Chris Bosh touches the court before February in a game, does that move the calendar back? Does that do damage to the Heat? Well, what could be a Heat plan?
If he touches the court in a regular season game.
Yes.
So there is that buffer. He can come back in preseason, travel with the Heat to Louisville, Kansas City, see what he can do. That doesn't reset the clock. Once he plays a regular season game, that becomes the 1-year clock of when his money comes off, the tax and the cap. Remember, Chris, and this is important because people are saying, what should Chris do? He gets all his money no matter what.
Correct.
That extra $70+ million, that will be cashed out. It's a matter of when could the money come off the books or maybe not at all.
All right. What about Joe Johnson? This is a guy, nobody brought his name up at the Pat Riley's postseason thing, which was kind of curious.
Yes.
What becomes of Joe?
You know, again, they tell players, they always embrace them. We want you long term. That's what you say at the moment. You know, that's what your relationships have been over the years. I'm never leaving you, Chris, unless they do.
Right.
I think with Joe Johnson, it's a matter of, do they have the money left?
Yeah.
Do they have enough left? There's something they call a room mid-level exception, about $2.6 million. Joe will be a later rather than sooner guy, but Joe Johnson's, modus operandi has always been going for the money. I think the first team that comes at his price, no matter if it's located in Minnesota or Sacramento, I think he goes there.
Wow, and Joe was the highest priced, the highest salary free agent out of 2010,
yes,
right?
Of all those guys, of LeBron and Dwayne and Amari and Boozer and all those guys, he got the money. That's always been. Even when he left Phoenix to go to a bad Atlanta team, it was always about the money.
All right, Ira, real quick, the Heat's free agents, we talked about Whiteside, but again, Whiteside, we'll start with him.
I think Whiteside stays eventually. You can't let someone that special go.
Dwayne Wade.
He's not going anywhere. There might be this phoniness of, this is getting ugly and he might go somewhere else. Dwayne Wade will never wear a jersey that doesn't have the word Miami or Heat in the front, or unless it's one of those special jerseys or El Heat or something like that.
All right, Luol Deng, that's an interesting one.
It's a matter of, can they find the money for him? I think if they don't get their whale and they only have a certain amount of cash available for other players, they may get everyone to take a little less because, as you know from the TV show, everyone loves Luol.
That's right, exactly. It's a great show, too. Joe Johnson, you just mentioned him if they have the room.
I think he goes because I don't think they have the money they can commit.
Amari Stoudemire.
He was not happy with his lack of playing time. End of the season, he lost his starting job 3 games ago in the regular season, then in the playoffs. I think he goes to a place where he can get a commitment of time. I don't think if Hassan comes back, they can give that to him here.
Gerald Green, he got a little playing time in the playoffs. A little.
Yeah, I think by the end of the year, the erraticness of Gerald, especially with his game, I think they want a little more steadying influence if they're going to bring a veteran wing in, someone who they can count on making three-pointers, not be so up and down game to game.
The old hand, Udonis Haslem. Pat said basically he's welcome to come back.
He's a Heat lifer.
Yeah.
We understand that. Is he a Heat lifer at his price point? One of the toughest things for any athlete to do is be a minimum salary player.
Right.
It's still a good salary. You're still earning $1.6 million. That's what it comes down to. And then, Chris, the other point with that is this. If he makes the minimum, it's about $900,000 against the cap. That is 1% of the cap.
Yeah.
But he's 1/15th of the roster.
Right.
Do you want to devote one of 15 roster spots to Udonis Haslam? Ultimately, I think they do.
Right. See, that to me is the thing that
A younger player
correct,
versus Udonis. What do you do with that roster spot?
Tyler Johnson.
You know what? He's in a weird situation. He's restricted.
Yep.
He can match any outside offer. He's part of the Gilbert Arenas provision. Basically means he can't start at more than $6.2 million. At that price point for what he could do, I think it's a no-brainer to bring him back.
What about our friend Darrell Wright? Grew up, drafted by the Heat as an 18-year-old.
You know what? And Darrell Wright, after he spends another season in China, if he wants to come back and be on the playoff roster if other players get injured or cut, I think so. At the end of the day, that was insurance, a nice little reunion. Don't think there'll be another one, at least not right away.
All right, last guy I'll ask you about, he's not a free agent, McBob, Josh McRoberts.
He hates that, by the way.
Is that right?
He told me, please, don't call me that.
All right, withdraw that
But
remark.
no, but he hates you anyway,
That's
so go
right,
ahead.
right, exactly. So what becomes of Josh McRoberts?
You know, again, Chris, we've talked about salary cap space on a bunch of these. Yeah. If they find they are $6 million short from what they want to do, that's money I think they can roll to another team. Chris, there's going to be teams that won't be able to spend to the salary floor, 90% of the cap. There will always be someone who will take him on a flyer. Maybe he recaptures what he had in Charlotte. I think he's more gone than here because it just hasn't worked. I think he needs a fresh start.
All right. That's it, Ira. You'll be back, in 2 weeks to update all this?
Exactly, and then the start of free agency to explain why it all went terribly wrong. When Chris's special guest, by the way, will be Kevin Durant.
That's right. He'll be right here. Yeah, I'm bringing Russell Westbrook in,
KD, good for 2 years. Just to tell him to be here in 2 years.
That's right, exactly.
Just for the chance to do sports with Perk, I think you can sell him. That's why he's coming, folks.
He's going to see this beautiful studio and go, I'm not in Oklahoma City.
You can't go wrong here.
That's it. That's Ira. I'm Perk. You're watching SunSentinel.com.